Power is never lost in a single battle. It is lost in 1,000 small leaks, a word spoken at the wrong moment, a gesture of weakness seen by the wrong eyes. Machiavelli observed that the great princes of history did not fall because of one decisive defeat, but because they wasted their strength on minor quarrels. They bled themselves in arguments while their enemies conserved silence. The paradox is simple. A ruler who tries to win every debate with his subjects becomes their equal. The one who does not answer, who lets silence weigh heavier than words, becomes untouchable. Consider the fate of Emperor Julian, remembered as the apostate. His reign was marked not by decisive wars, but by endless arguments with priests and philosophers. Instead of securing loyalty, he became entangled in disputes about doctrine. Every hour he spent proving himself right, his throne became less secure. The more he argued, the smaller he appeared. Contrast him with rulers like Ferdinand of Aragon, who mastered silence. He let others rage, debate, and accuse, but his restraint made his power seem absolute. When he did speak, his words carried the force of law because they were rare. The same dynamic repeats in every age. Kings, generals, and men who argue descend to the level of those they quarrel with. Those who remain silent rise above. Now bring this forward to the modern man. A woman provokes you, tests you, or draws you into debate. The moment you argue, you prove that her frame has captured you. You reveal that her words can move you, that her tone can shake you, that her logic, however flawed, can trap you. Your masculine composure dissolves, and with it, your authority. It is not about winning or losing the debate. It is about the exposure of weakness. To engage is to bleed. To remain silent is to preserve. The man who does not argue may be called cold, arrogant, or cruel, but he is never called powerless.
Every argument is a trap disguised as an opportunity. You believe you can prove your point, correct her mistake, or demonstrate your superiority with words. But Machiavelli would warn you, the moment you step into that arena, you have already lost. Why? Because arguments with women are never about logic. They are about emotion, leverage, and control of the frame. A man thinks he is playing chess. She is simply testing whether he will move his pieces at all. The only true victory is to never sit at the board. The futility lies in the structure of the argument itself. Even if you win logically, you lose socially. The more passionately you argue, the more you reveal that her opinion matters to you. You may crush her reasoning, but you have confirmed her power over your emotional state. If she can provoke you into defending yourself, you have already surrendered authority. Remember, men are judged not by their correctness, but by their composure. A man who must explain, justify, and prove is already beneath the one who forced him to. Think of the energy cost. Every heated exchange drains a man of focus, time, and discipline. He spends hours revisiting the words spoken, replaying the conflict in his head. His energy, once meant for building his empire, is scattered in the dust of petty debate. Machiavelli warned rulers not to waste their armies on trivial skirmishes, because every soldier lost in a meaningless fight was a soldier missing when the real enemy arrived. Your mental army is the same. Spend it on arguments, and you will not have it when true challenges demand your strength. Notice also how respect collapses the moment a man becomes reactive. A calm man radiates control. A reactive man radiates insecurity. Women sense this immediately. They may not consciously analyze the logic, but they feel the shift in dominance. The louder you speak, the weaker you appear. The calmer you remain, the more your presence dominates. In the economy of power, silence is the highest currency, because it cannot be countered. So ask yourself, when has any argument truly left you stronger? When has debating with a woman left you more respected? The answer is clear. Never. Machiavelli insisted that authority rests not on constant battle, but on the perception of unshakable control. A prince who reacts to every criticism, every rumor, every challenge soon appears desperate to defend himself. He becomes a man of explanations, not decisions. The Florentine warned that once your reputation is tainted with weakness, recovery is nearly impossible. For power lives not only in action, but in appearance. The man who argues, even when he is right, looks like a man under siege. The man who holds silence looks like a fortress. Think of the lesson in The Prince. Machiavelli urged rulers to guard their image more fiercely than their treasure. Treasure can be replaced, reputation cannot. Once subjects believe their ruler can be rattled, he is finished. Translate that into the modern man's life. Your reputation is your frame. If you can be baited into arguments, you brand yourself as fragile. You prove that your mood, your energy, your very sense of worth depends on the approval of someone else. A man whose peace depends on winning an argument is no ruler of himself. He is a subject begging for validation. History is littered with men who collapsed not from force of arms, but from the slow erosion of respect. Consider King Richard II of England. Chroniclers describe him as clever, sensitive, even intelligent, but he was too eager to defend himself against every slight. He quarreled with nobles, snapped at councils, and wasted energy proving his dignity. Each argument made him look smaller. When rebellion came, his throne had no foundation. Contrast this with Machiavelli's ideal prince, one who never lowers himself to quarrels, who lets others speak, rage, or accuse, and by refusing to answer, makes their voices sound trivial. The same is true in relationships and modern life. A man who must set the record straight shows he is already losing. A man who never feels compelled to respond shows that no record can touch him. Machiavelli's warning is eternal. Reputation is preserved not by defending it in every skirmish, but by rising above them. Every argument you avoid is not a loss, it is a demonstration of power.
To argue is to dissent. The instant a man raises his voice, explains himself, or justifies his actions, he abandons the throne of composure and steps into the arena of emotional combat. And in that arena, women hold the advantage. They know instinctively how to escalate, how to twist words, how to provoke further until the man is tangled in his own anger. What he sees as strength, his willingness to fight with words, is, in truth, his undoing. Machiavelli would say that the moment you show agitation, you have ceded control. A man who argues reveals that he can be moved. He proves that his emotions lie not within his command, but under the influence of another. That is why men always lose when they argue with women. The loss is not in the logic of the debate, but in the exposure of weakness. A man who argues loudly declares that he is no longer the sovereign of himself. Women, consciously or not, gain leverage from this. By pulling you into an argument, they discover your thresholds. They see where you snap, how easily you can be provoked, what wounds you try to defend. These are all weapons handed over freely. A man who argues equips the very person who challenges him with the tools to control him. Silence, on the other hand, denies all of this intelligence. A man who does not argue cannot be mapped. He offers no signal, no opening, no confession of weakness. Think of it this way. When you argue, you fight on her terms. You speak her language, emotional escalation, point-for-point sparring, endless redefinitions of the issue. There is no final victory because the battlefield itself is designed for chaos. The more you fight, the deeper you sink. The man who refuses to argue, however, shifts the entire frame.
He communicates that his state of mind is untouchable, that her words cannot reach his core. His silence does not admit defeat, it enforces sovereignty. This is why men who argue always lose, not because they lack logic, not because they are wrong, but because the very act of arguing is proof they have already surrendered control. In power dynamics, words are cheap, but silence is priceless. Machiavelli understood that the fewer words a ruler speaks, the greater weight each carries. Silence is not emptiness, it is a weapon. It unsettles, it confuses, and it forces others to reveal themselves, while you reveal nothing. When a man refuses to argue, he denies his opponent the very oxygen the conflict requires. Without his participation, the fire burns out. With his silence, he remains untouchable. Notice how fear grows in silence. When a man does not respond, the other is left to guess, what is he thinking? Does he agree, disagree, or plan something far worse? This uncertainty breeds respect. In Machiavellian terms, the unknown is more intimidating than any shouted defense. A man who argues shows his cards. A man who withholds creates an aura of mystery that commands caution. Even in personal relationships, this dynamic holds. The partner who refuses to be dragged into disputes gains leverage because their composure cannot be shaken. Also, silence preserves curiosity. A man who explains himself endlessly becomes predictable. A man who stays silent invites speculation. People begin to wonder, to imagine, to project their own fears or desires onto him. This projection often grants him more power than any argument could. By saying nothing, he lets others construct his image, and they often build it stronger than he could himself. This is why Machiavelli advised rulers to let others speak more than they did. It is in the chatter of the court that reputations are destroyed, while the quiet ruler remains intact. Think of modern situations. A woman expects you to defend yourself after a sharp remark, but you remain calm and say nothing. Suddenly, her words hang in the air, heavy and unanswered. The silence grows louder than any comeback. Or in the workplace, when someone challenges you in front of others, and you respond not with argument, but with calm dismissal or a measured pause. In both cases, silence communicates strength far more effectively than debate. To remain silent is not weakness, it is strategy. For the man who masters silence never looks defensive, never loses composure, and never bleeds power. The truth Machiavelli revealed centuries ago echoes clearly in today's world. Men lose power not on battlefields, but in living rooms, comment sections, and office corridors. The arenas have changed, but the principle is the same. The man who argues shows weakness. The man who resists remains sovereign. Look closely at modern life, and you'll see the same traps repeating themselves. Take dating drama. A man begins defending himself against accusations, explaining why he texted late, justifying every action. He believes he is protecting the relationship, but what he is really doing is proving that her frame dictates his behavior. Every explanation bleeds authority. The more he argues, the more she realizes that his peace depends on her approval. And with that realization, respect collapses. Contrast this with the man who calmly shrugs, who does not rush to defend himself. He projects self-possession. He shows that his worth is not on trial. And strangely, this man is desired more, not less. Or look at social media. Men spill rivers of words in digital arguments, battling strangers they will never meet. Each heated reply drains hours of time and oceans of mental focus. What do they gain? Nothing but exposure of insecurity. The man who argues online is always the loser, even if his logic is perfect, because he has revealed that anonymous words can govern his emotions. The silent man, who refuses to be baited, keeps his energy intact. His power remains with him, not scattered across endless threads. The workplace tells the same story. Men who take the bait in meetings, arguing passionately with colleagues or trying to win disputes in front of others, rarely gain respect. They are remembered not for their intelligence, but for their loss of composure. The man who remains calm, who speaks little but decisively, is the one others follow. He appears unshakable, and in the politics of any organization, perception is power. Whether in dating, online, or in the office, the result is the same. Arguing diminishes you. Silence elevates you. The principle is timeless because human nature has not changed. Only the stages have shifted.
What does true restraint look like? Picture a man who does not flinch when challenged, who does not rush to defend himself, who lets others speak while he listens. This is the archetype Machiavelli admired, the man who does not squander his authority in petty disputes, but conserves it like a treasury of gold. His silence is not passive, it is deliberate. Every withheld word is a statement of power. Every calm glance communicates, "I am in control here." History offers countless examples. Julius Caesar, before crossing the Rubicon, endured years of political slander in Rome. Rivals hurled insults, accusations, and endless provocations. Yet Caesar often answered with silence or short, dismissive phrases. He understood that wasting energy on rebuttals would only make him appear equal to his enemies. Instead, he let his victories speak for him. When he finally acted, his silence gave his move the force of thunder. His restraint had built anticipation, and his action carried more power because it was not diluted by argument. In modern times, think of leaders, entrepreneurs, or men of influence who never seem rushed to explain themselves. Their presence carries weight precisely because they do not defend every detail of their lives. They allow mystery to surround them. The strategic man does not argue about his worth. He demonstrates it through composure, results, and mastery over his own reactions. Contrast this with the reactive man. He argues with his partner late into the night, thinking he's proving his strength. He debates online with strangers, thinking he's showing intelligence. He interrupts meetings to win points, thinking he's commanding respect. But in reality, he's bleeding power with every word. The reactive man is common, predictable, and forgettable. The strategic man, by contrast, is rare. His silence, his restraint, his control set him apart. People remember him not because of what he said, but because of what he refused to say. To embody this archetype is to embody sovereignty itself. You are no longer at the mercy of others' provocations. You command yourself, and that is the foundation of commanding the world.
Now the question turns back to you. What kind of man are you? The one who bleeds power in every quarrel, or the one who remains sovereign in silence? Machiavelli would remind you that power is not taken in a single stroke. It is surrendered in 1,000 petty battles. Every argument you enter, every word you spill in defense, every emotional outburst you allow, these are small acts of surrender. Each one chips away at the aura of authority you should carry as a man. Look at your life honestly. How many times have you argued and left the exchange weaker, drained, disrespected? Did the woman walk away convinced, or did she walk away knowing she could move you? Did your colleague leave the meeting defeated, or did he leave satisfied that he had rattled you in front of others? In truth, every time you argue, You prove that your composure is fragile, and fragile men cannot lead. Fragile men cannot command respect. Fragile men are remembered only for their noise, never for their power. But there is another path, the path of restraint, silence, and strategy. The path where your worth is never on trial because you never allow it to be, where your silence speaks louder than any defense, where your calm radiates more fear than any shouted threat. This is the Machiavellian path. Not to waste strength proving yourself, but to preserve it so that when you act, the act is decisive. So here is the challenge. The next time you are provoked, tested, or baited into argument, remember this. To answer is to descend. To argue is to bleed. To remain silent is to rule. You must choose in that moment what kind of man you are. Will you be the one who gives away his power for the comfort of being right? Or will you be the one who keeps his power, feared and respected because he does not stoop to quarrel? The answer defines more than the outcome of a single dispute. It defines the kind of man you will be remembered as. Argue and be forgotten. Remain silent and be sovereign.